Well, there we are. Good evening, everybody. All those people that are listening to me. Thanks for your patience while I get things set up over here. Tonight's going to be very informal. I am going to tell you why here in just a minute. All right, folks, this is Aaron Barker, and you are watching the newly formed Aaron Barker Show, where it's just me. Previously, for those of you who didn't know, I hosted the breakdown for about 9 years. And for a large portion of that show, I was actually with two other co-hosts. So it was Brian Jackson, who's a pastor friend of mine, and then also Erica Sauer, who was on the show, which, by the way, if you're looking on Rumble, if you're watching on Rumble, in the description on Rumble, you'll see that I accidentally included her name on there. So I apologize to Erica for including her still on the show. I know it's heartbreaking for her to be on here and for her name to be associated with this. And I'm very, very sorry about that. Let me go ahead and record this too. That would really stink if I didn't record it. All right, folks. So without further ado, so those of you who do not know me, my name is Aaron Barker. I am a Capricorn. I like long walks on the beach. And I've been doing this broadcasting gig. It's mentioned I was doing the breakdown for about 9 years, did that with the co-hosts. They had to part ways. It was all amicable. Nobody hated each other. Everybody still gets along. We still talk. So there's no hate there whatsoever. So I took a little bit of a summer hiatus because I had some personal things I was dealing with. Also, I was trying to get together some ideas about the next steps of the show, because up until that point, I had been doing the show for 9 years. I had been doing essentially the same content, and I'd essentially been for about half that time with those other hosts. So I was looking for a way to kind of to change and to bring about a different perspective, a newer perspective, a different idea to the show. So that is what we're doing now. Officially, tonight is just a beta test. I am going to be talking about some issues, specifically the Charlie Kirk theories that I have, and then also about this LDS massacre that happened yesterday. I'm going to be talking about that. And my whole point of doing this is I needed to get some information out there, some things that have really been on my mind since the whole Charlie Kirk has been situation happened, which is a tragic situation, of course. And then yesterday with the massacre that happened and the circumstances surrounding that. Plus, I want to talk a little bit about some of the Christian response, some of the loving, genuine, kind, Christian, gracious responses to both the passing of Russell Nelson and then also the massacre that occurred yesterday. You can join the show. All you have to do is go over to rumble.com. You can jump on the show over there and you can comment just like you used to. You can also go to Facebook where the show is broadcasting, and we're also on YouTube tonight for as long as we possibly can. And I will tell you this, and I say that, and I'm not, this is not jest. I say as long as we possibly can, or as long as they will allow us to be on Facebook, because I got a notification at about, I think it was about 3 o'clock this morning, 2 o'clock this morning, that my TikTok is in jeopardy of being banned. They are considering banning my account, not just a strike. We're talking about a complete and utter ban over on TikTok, which is kind of disheartening. TikTok has really been the place that I've seen the most organic growth. Hold on just a second. I hope this isn't going to be fixed this real quick. Sorry about that. TikTok is where I've seen the most organic growth. I started doing the daily breakdowns back in 2020-ish, 2021, I think. And they were picked up by Mojo, the daily Mojo with Brad Staggs and producer Ron. And they were playing those every day. And I was having a blast doing those. It became really heavy. And for those of you who are from the old school, the old country on Mojo, you remember Peter Seraphin before he passed away, that he was doing like a daily constitutional minute or daily like a minute update or something like that on his page. So I was actually, I started doing those as well, and then they were featuring both of ours on their show. But it got really heavy, so I was going to go to a week and a weekly show, and ended up stopping that. But that's really where I saw a lot of growth over on TikTok, was just doing those daily breakdowns. And they would just take a topic. It was about, like I would do Freaky Fridays, so it would be a paranormal issue, Bigfoot, Project Blue Beam, chemtrails, something like that. And then throughout the week, it would be just typical regular type stuff. It would be about gun rights or whatever politics, whatever particular situations were affecting us at that time. And you can go back and watch them all. They're all there to be seen. But when you start doing specific topics, I did a couple on the election back in 2020, and those were zapped. I put some stuff up about the government-sponsored juice. Those were zapped. I put one up the other day, and I do not understand why. To be honest with you, I do not understand why they're saying that it was zapped. It was actually a Candace Owens one. I might pull that up here for you, show it to you, because all it was just her detailing some information that she had found out regarding one of the videos that was filmed at the Charlie Kirk incident. And I'll probably pull that up here. They zapped it over on TikTok, so I'll have to pull it up from my actual computer. She'll have to give me a minute to do that. But anyway, so tonight is really just a beta test, and I am going to be talking about some serious issues. I would really love for people to join in. You can comment over on Facebook, YouTube, and on Rumble. And forgive me if this looks a little choppy. It has been a little bit. It's weird because if you don't do this on a regular basis, sitting behind the microphone, because I produce everything here too. If you're not sitting down here producing everything, thinking about where the stream goes, the stream keys, the static RTMPs, all of that stuff, you kind of forget. So that's why it took me about 10 minutes to get signed on at the beginning. But hopefully all of those things will be worked out. Officially, though, I will let you know that that's what I meant to do a second ago, but then I got distracted. So just so you know, beginning on October the 11th, Saturday, October 11th, I will be doing the show live again. So every Saturday morning from 9 a.m. to 11 a.m., beginning Saturday, October 11th, the Aaron Barker Show will be broadcasting. That was the slot that I had in the old time, and that's the slot that I love. I love Saturday mornings ever since I wanted to do radio for the past 20 years. I've always wanted to be on a Saturday morning, and since I'm the one making the schedule, I'm the one making the clock, I'm the one doing the programming, I'm the one doing the broadcasting, I get to choose when the show's going to be. So I choose Saturday. Saturday is the blessed day upon which I shall bless the airwaves, and you shall see me every Saturday, because Saturday is the day I shall broadcast. So you'll see me there on Saturdays, and I will be greatly, greatly appreciative if you would join in. And I welcome all viewpoints. I welcome all discussions. I welcome everything. And I hope that you will be here and join me in doing this. I see you out there, Ricky, and it's great to be back. I appreciate you so much coming on and chatting there with me. Don't forget to share the show as well. So officially, just one more time, officially, Saturday, October 11th, starting at 9 a.m., we will be broadcasting. I will be broadcasting the Aaron Barker Show. And it will be live, and we will take your comments. Eventually, we will hopefully take your calls, maybe even have a few guests, but it mainly will be my ability and my time to pontificate on the occurrences of that week, which I am going to commence doing right now. Saturday morning, it's actually Sunday morning, about 2:30, 3 o'clock, about the same time that I got the zap from TikTok. Or was that yesterday? That was yesterday. I got the zap from TikTok. Sunday morning, about 2, 3 o'clock in the morning, I was down here doing some work, getting things prepped and ready for the show release. And I saw the news on Twitter, I believe, that Russell M. Nelson, the president of the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints, the most current president, passed away. And I immediately thought of Glenn Beck. Because when I think of Glenn Beck, when I think of Mormons, the Latter-day Saints, I think of Glenn Beck. And I went to his page to see if he had posted anything up about it. And of course, he's in a different time zone than I am. So he probably at that time, if he did find out about it, he wasn't really concerned about making a social media post about it. So I checked his page, and lo and behold, he hadn't made anything yet. But when I got up Sunday morning, I checked all the socials, and whilst checking the socials, I did find that Glenn did make a comment and make a post regarding the passing of President Nelson. And I want to pull up his initial post here. This is where did it go? This is an initial post that he made just just talking about the fact that this gentleman had passed away. So let me go here. Sorry about the wrong one. There we go. You'll have to give me a minute while I fumble around through all of this stuff to figure out. Here we go. Okay, now this is Glenn Beck's post that he made on Sunday morning after we found out, on September 28th, yesterday morning, after we found out that Russell Nelson had passed away. He posts, "So deeply saddened, and yet once again so very happy for him. The last few weeks have been to me like a slow motion rapture. So many now that I look up to as spiritual giants have been taken. Ours is not to ask why, but simply to do the next right thing. For me, that would be prayer for President Nelson and all those that mourn, as well as a prayer of gratitude for all of the gifts and time that has been given to those of us who remain." That was his post, right? This is a very heartfelt post. I mean, you got to think, because Glenn was very close with Charlie Kirk, and he was also friends with Vodi Bakum, and he was also evidently friends with Gordon Nelson, or with Russell Nelson. I keep saying Gordon because Gordon B. Hinckley was a previous president. I'm a little bit of a Mormon fanboy. I love Mormons. I've studied Mormonism. I think it's a beautiful religion, to be honest with you. And I think that the people are so wonderfully nice. They are just really, really nice. That's why yesterday's tragedy was just such a shock. But he posts up this video, or this posts, and it's a heartfelt post, all right? And I would like to share with you now some of the kind, gracious, loving Christian responses that were put up underneath his post. Now, brace yourself, because you might need to grab a box of tissues. The love and kindness that was displayed by Christians here, I haven't seen anything like this in a long time. Wide Right says, "What is more loving? Saying you are my brother in Christ and you are on a path to eternal punishment, or saying you are not my brother in Christ and you can reject the false teachings of the LDS, follow Christ, and be in glory for eternity?" I commented on that. Which is pretty much what I'm going to be saying now, is that it's more loving, honestly, to exercise discernment in this time of grief for a fellow human being. Now, one of the things that I've really been pushing very hard, and you'll see this as I'm talking about this, because this just sparked this with me. For those of you who follow me on the socials, you'll remember back in June, I take it upon myself to share a lot of posts, and those posts are to point to the fact that many Christians are treating other people like crap. It just seems to be that whenever June rolls around, you can guarantee that the Christians are going to start talking about how horrible the homosexual and LGBTQ community are, and how terrible that they are, and how they're going to be burning in hell, and how they need to repent, and that if they're reprobates and they're an abomination. You'll see all of that posted up. You'll see that, and you'll see the demons. I'll call them demons. We've talked about this ad nauseum as well. And I take it upon myself, because I am a Christian and I am an ordained minister. I take it upon myself to point out to people, you don't have to be a douchebag. Like, your form of evangelism that you're trying to utilize right now, the form of evangelism that you're doing is not effective. It's not doing anything. You're not causing people to love Jesus more, or to reject their false teaching and follow you. You're not showing the grace and love of Jesus Christ by doing that. I'm here. Sorry about that. Just experiencing a little bit of technical difficulties right now. Just a moment, folks. I will be right back with you. Don't go anywhere. But sorry about that. Again, just experiencing a little bit of technical difficulties there. Appreciate your patience. But the type of comments that people were leaving, they don't cause people to love Jesus more. They don't point to Jesus more. They don't cause Jesus to be glorified. Now, and I'll read some of this stuff to you as well. I'm going to continue to read some of these comments to you. By the way, I see you over there, Erica, in the chat. Thank you so much for joining me. I miss you all over here on the show. Maybe we'll have you and Brian as a guest sometime in the future. That'd be a lot of fun. Like old times. And then also Ricky over in Facebook, he said, what people commented negatively was disgusting. Why can't everyone just have some form of decency? That's really what it comes down to, is decency and respect and kindness towards other people who are going and suffering through some type of mourning and some type of loss. But let's go back to some of these comments here. The next person that commented on this, Pacific Patriot. The tablets aren't real. Sorry, buddy. Love you, American. And Glenn Beck simply says, in this moment, he makes a big post about this too. So I'll hold off on that. Another person, find Jesus and not a false church. He going to be a very hot place. That guy had attitude, whoever that was. Soccer 1986. Country Bumpkin says, I've been trying to convince my wife that Glenn Beck is a member of the largest cult in the country, the LDS Church. Let's see what she says about this post. I think it's fantastic. You also use a post like this and a tragedy and a grief-stricken moment like this to prove your wife wrong. That's always the best time to look for an opportunity to prove your wife wrong. Somebody else, he is not in glory, Glenn. Mormons are not Christians. Their beliefs are in antithesis of the teachings of Jesus. My condolences to his family nonetheless. Then somebody else here, Glenn, you follow a satanic religion, not the true Jesus. Jesus was not created by God and the spirit mom. Satan is not his brother. You don't get a planet to rule when you die. This man was another satanic messenger. I mean, it just goes on and on and on and on like this. And I actually posted up on Facebook something like this as well. I went through and did a big collection of all of the posts, and not all of them. I only did like a snippet of them, but I did a snippet of the posts and comments of folks to kind of show them, this is what you're saying, this is what you're doing, right? So right here, this is Glenn's response to this. He makes another post after this, and he said, after reading a few of the comments to my original post, I felt compelled to ask my Christian friends a few questions. If, in this moment of grief, someone had said to me as I mourned the loss of Charlie Kirk, yes, but everything he said was trash, how do you think that would feel? Does that sound like the way we honor the charge to mourn with those who mourn? I know very well how my faith is viewed in some quarters, he continues. I am not blind to the criticisms, nor do I expect everyone to share my beliefs. If you are not a hater, but simply someone who disagrees with me on the issues, I want you to know I recognize your sincerity and that you, too, may believe you are doing right. But please, in this moment, I ask you to show me and others who are hurting the respect and love that Christians are commanded to extend to all. That's not an unreasonable request. That's me adding that part. He continues, there is a time for debate and there is a time for silence. The time to belittle or question another's faith is not while they are burying their dead. Doing so does not soften hearts, it hardens them. It does not heal, it deepens the wound. It does not invite reflection. It closes ears and eyes to any message you might hope to share. I'm not asking you to change your beliefs. I am not even asking you to stay silent forever. I'm asking humbly and respectfully that you consider saving that fight for another day. We already agree on so much. The times are so dark. This is the third friend I have lost in 2 weeks. We are all hurting. I love you. I respect your spiritual stance. I even applaud you for standing up for Christ in your way. But is it too much to ask just for this moment that you sit quietly with a friend and mourn while they mourn? Now, anyone out there, I would like for anybody out there to tell me where in that Glenn was wrong. The very first comment after he made that post, though, LDS is not Christianity, Glenn. This book is a lie straight from hell. There is only one testament from Jesus Christ. What's to mourn? Isn't it in the Christian ideal to die and spend eternity in the afterlife with Jesus? Why mourn when somebody gets what they've longed for and worked for? Don't you long to die? Actually, that's actually not a bad comment. Let's see. I understand your loss was another comment. But anything that denies the divinity of Christ is antichrist and evil. You are not in our circle. You are a pagan. I mean, it goes on and on like this. And these are the comments. These are the people that claim to be Christians, that claim to be loving, that claim to be gracious, that claim to be kind, that claim to be full of mercy. And what do? The moment that they find out that president of Glenn Beck's church dies, they take that moment to, quotey fingers, evangelize. That's Christian evangelism? There's nothing about that that's positive. Nothing about that. Nothing about that shows the love of Jesus Christ. I took it upon myself, as mentioned, to accumulate some of these and put them up on Facebook in a nice little picture. And I will pull that picture up for you now, because even in this request, it was still, people were still demanding that they were absolutely right, that they were correct, and that there was nothing that they needed to repent about. So here's this. I shared this. Let me change that window to Facebook. Is this the one? Yeah, that's the one right there. So I put this up. My post was Russell M. Nelson, the president of the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints, passed away this weekend. Glenn Beck is LDS, and he, like many, has lost 3 friends in the past 3 weeks. In the typical loving, gracious Christian way, those who profess to know the true Jesus have camped out on Glenn's social media pages, leveling what amounts to vile hatred towards LDS and Glenn. I'll never understand how this is considered, how this is considered kind to pounce on someone in a time of mourning. Okay. And now, Glenn, I posted up the response for Glenn Beck there as well. And here is what somebody posted up. Now, this guy is a troll, and he likes to troll me, which is perfectly fine. I love the conversation. But this guy here posts up on this. LDS denies Christ as deity, denies Christ as the only way, denies scriptures are inspired, promoted polygamy, and covered up all types of sexual abuse. I agree with many of these comments above. Well, that's amazing. Now, this man professes to be a pastor, by the way. He claims to be a pastor, and he is consistently rude, ungracious, and full of hatred towards anybody that disagrees with him. And this is one of those moments. This is one of those moments when, in actuality, there should be no disagreement on this, where somebody simply says, look, let's just not be complete a-holes while somebody is standing next to the grave of a loved one. Can we do that? Can we do that? And then here it said that now he continues. I said, whether or not you agree is beside the point. It's about timing and being respectful to those who are hurting. Besides, these are his chosen set of dogmas, by the way. And he has no authority to impose those upon other people. These are just what he's done to kind of frame in his specific belief system and make it appear that anybody outside that fence, outside that setting of that specific belief is wrong. Because if you look back through his post, his comment, there is what he has done is he has completely alienated anybody that was a Christian for the first 300 years of Christianity, because the deity of Christ was not something that was theologically worked out for quite some time. The Trinity is something that is imposed upon the scriptures from a later teaching. So when he says they deny Christ is the only, when they deny the Christ's deity, he is excluding the earliest forms and earliest parts of Christianity by saying that they don't believe in Jesus Christ. When you look at the scriptures, when he says that denies that Christ is the only way, okay, they actually teach that Jesus Christ is the way, denies that scriptures are inspired. The Bible doesn't even say that the Bible is inspired. See, the Bible, when the people were writing the Bible, they had no concept of the Bible. You have to use circular reasoning in order to get your point across, and it falls apart. And then also, it promoted polygamy and covered up all types of sexual abuse. Honestly, have you read the Old Testament? There is all kinds of promotions of polygamy in the Old Testament. There is all kinds of cover-up of sexual abuse. You look at David. Just simply look at David for the first one. David was covering up his sexual infidelity and his sexual abuse. The abuse that was covered up by Lot's daughters. The sexual abuse that was purveyed on the angels when they attempted to, when the people at Sodom and Gomorrah attempted to have relations with the angels, and Lot almost gave his daughters to them. There's all kinds of sexual abuse. So when somebody tells you that the LDS Church denies Christ as deity, let them know that they are excluding the first 300 years of Christianity. When they deny that scriptures are inspired, let them know that the Bible doesn't even say it's inspired. When they say that other religions like LDS promotes polygamy, let them know the Old Testament has promoted polygamy. Solomon had 700 wives and 300 concubines. And there was also all kinds of sexual abuse that was covered up in the scriptures as well. So there are, in this situation, what I'm trying to say, and this is also the thing that I've just been trying to say, there's no reason for you to be a complete a-hole to folks that are mourning, that are outside of your particular dogma, outside of your particular ilk, outside of your specific perceived understandings of Christianity, because what you do is you alienate folks. You do not show the love of Christ. Now, I'm not saying that there isn't a time for truth. I'm not saying that there isn't a time for rigorous debate. One of those times for rigorous debate would be any time that I'm on the air, especially Saturday mornings from 9 a.m. to 11 a.m., when the Aaron Barker Show will begin premiering on October 11th. There's always time. There's always a specific time to have a debate, always a time to be kind and gracious. To everything, there is a season. Before I go screwing that scripture up, let me pull out my brand new study Bible that I bought, and I'll just go to the passage, and I'll just read it to you real quick. Now, this Bible it also has the Apocrypha in it, so it kind of throw you off if you don't go back far enough. Hold, please. Uno momento, please. Hold, please. Almost there. Yeah, I got this. It is the SBL Study Bible, New Revised Standard Version, Updated Edition. It includes the apocryphal and deuterocanonical books. So a ton of information here about each of the books, a ton of information about each of the authors of the books as well. Oh my goodness, if I could get there, there's a lot of time I'm taking just to find this. I have to edit this out in the back part here. Okay. Where is it? Sorry about the delay. I'm still here. You can go to rumble.com And just search for the Aaron Barker Show. You can also go over to Facebook and YouTube. You will also be able to have to view the show and also comment on the show there as well. Let me see if I can find this here. For some reason, okay. There is a time for everything and a season for every activity under the heavens, a time to be born and a time to die, a time to plant and a time to uproot, a time to kill and a time to heal, a time to tear down and a time to build, a time to weep and a time to laugh, a time to mourn and a time to dance, a time to scatter stones and a time to gather them, a time to embrace and a time to refrain from embracing, a time to search and a time to give up, a time to keep and a time to throw away, a time to tear and a time to mend, a time to be silent and a time to speak, a time to love and a time to hate, a time for war and a time for peace. So pick your battles and pick your times and know when the proper time is in order to do that. All right, let's run through a couple of comments here. Erica says, you can't say I understand, but how true that is, Erica. Oh, man. And you also can't say I understand unless you legitimately do understand. You know what I mean? If somebody has lost, a spouse or a child or something, and you say, man, I understand what you're going through. And it's like, have you lost? What did you do when you lost all of that? Oh, well, I haven't. Well, then you can't understand. You can empathize as much as Charlie Kirk wants to say you're not allowed to. You can empathize with somebody, but you can't understand unless you've been through it. Space Hippie on vacay. You know what? It's so awesome to look in the comments section. Not that it's just it's great to look into the comments section and see my old friends here. We've got Roger Rabbit, we've got Erica, we've got Space Hippie on vacay, Audrey hanging out with us. It's just great to see these folks again. I feel like it's a Saturday, but Space Hippie says it's literally how people are. You don't believe like me, then you're automatically wrong and should be ostracized. That is so true. That is so true. And so many people hold on to that. And I understand that you have to have a specific amount of conviction and a specific amount of assuredness and confidence that what you're saying or what you're doing is true and what you're saying and what you're doing is accurate, right? But there's also a time, just like we've been saying, to not exercise your speaking and your talking, just to shut your cake hole. Ricky says, we have multiple similarities between Protestant and LDS beliefs. Christ-centered salvation, both affirm that Jesus Christ is the Son of God, the Savior of the world, and the only means by which humanity can be saved. His atoning sacrifice is central to both. Oh, wow. That's a long comment, Ricky. That might have to be an article that you put up on a website or something like that. But essentially, Ricky's saying I'm right, which I would expect nothing less than people to say that I am right. It happens, and I'm used to it. It's good to have it back, though. It's good to have that feeling. I'm going to... I am going to invite somebody. And there we go. All right, now let's move on here to something else, because again, I don't want to have, I'm not going to be able to do a full 2-hour show. I'm not even sure how long I've been broadcasting tonight. Once you get into this, you don't think, I always get nervous that I'm not going to have enough to say, but then I get on here and I say way too much. So I want to jump over here to another something that we have been talking about, or that has been happening. And that would be the Erica Kirk, the Charlie Kirk and my theory on his assassination. Now, Charlie Kirk was not a Christian martyr. Charlie Kirk was not a Christian martyr. And I believe if you say that Charlie Kirk was a Christian martyr, you belittle actual Christian martyrs, people who are out there, who are losing their life for the gospel's sake. You cheapen that sacrifice. You take away what they are doing. Now, that does not mean that I don't mourn the fact that he was assassinated at such a young age. It is a tragic and horrible loss that shouldn't happen to anybody. It is a terrible situation, a horrible occurrence, and I am heartbroken for his wife and for his children, Absolutely heartbroken for that. Let's not call things that aren't true or accurate and label those things as though it's what we're seeing. We're not seeing a Christian martyr. He was a political figure, not a political candidate, not a political member of the House or Senate. He was not a, what would you call that? What would be the best word to describe that? He's not an active political person, an elected official. That's what I'm trying to say. He's not an elected official, but he was a politically active person. His actions, even if you buy into the mainstream idea, even if you buy into the fact that Tyler Robinson was a lone gunman, it still does not tell us that Charlie Kirk was a Christian martyr. It tells us that Charlie Kirk was an inflammatory character that said things to incite conversations, and he got those conversations. He got the views on Facebook or Twitter. He got the views all over social, and he increased knowledge of some theories and some ideas from a conservative standpoint. He was a voice for conservatism, a MAGA. He was a voice for a political side. But as far as being specifically and only a Christian minister, he was not. We are all ministers in a way, but somebody who is out there trying to evangelize, trying to save people specifically, that was not what he was trying to do. And I know that it's not what he was trying to do, because even though I have a limited knowledge of him, even though I didn't pay much attention to Charlie Kirk or what he said or what he did, whenever I tuned in, it wasn't about the gospel. Did he talk about the gospel? Absolutely. But whenever I tuned in, it wasn't the gospel. He was talking about politics. He was talking about crime. He was talking about Second Amendment rights and free speech. He was talking about MAGA. He was talking about SA. He was talking about all of those other things except for the gospel, which he mentioned a couple of times. Now, again, this does not mean that I don't mourn his loss. It doesn't mean that I hate him. It doesn't mean that and I have been accused over the past couple of weeks of hating God, hating the Bible, hating Jesus, hating men of God. I mean, it's just I've been called vile and evil, a reprobate. I've been called horrible things. And it's because I speak things that I believe are true. And I also did not pay the deference to Charlie Kirk that everybody else did. He was a man. Just like Vodi Bakum was a man, just like John MacArthur was a man, just like Russell Nelson was a man. They are men. We are all men. We are all put here for a specific reason. But before I go off on all of that tangent, Charlie Kirk was not a Christian martyr. We cheapen legitimate Christian martyrs if we call him that. Now, also, what also happens. By the way, Audrey, if you want to drop the full quote in there by Charlie Kirk, go ahead and do that. That's perfectly fine with me. I'll read it on the air. Okay. But anyway, if we stop at the idea that he was martyred because he was a Christian, then what we do is we close off other avenues because we want so bad for it to be that. It can't be about politics. It can't be because of a small country in the South Levant region of Southeast Asia. It can't be those things. It can't be a specific country that was involved in this because he was a Christian martyr, and that's why it happened. And then we close ourselves off to that. But a lot of people out there are doing a lot of great work on the physics of what happened, about positions of where shooters were, where they could have been, where the projectile was coming from, if the projectile was on a lapel mic, if the projectile was from a high-powered or a low-powered rifle, if it was a detonator. There's some weird stuff happening out there. We have a security team that doesn't act like a security team once the shot is fired. That's almost like they were scripted. They jump over the tables and they start, instead of helping, they start grabbing things, shoving things in their pocket, taking pictures with smart glasses, taking pictures with cell phones, handing things off to people running away, calmly filming while his body is being carried to the van, people that were a part of the detail, disassembling the crime scene within minutes. You just lost your boss, you just lost your friend, and what you're doing is, your idea is to start taking down cameras and taking down hats and moving chairs and cleaning things up and taking down backdrops. The whole thing smells of something fishy. Now, I'm not saying that this was a hologram. I'm not saying that it was the lapel. I'm not saying that was one or two or different angles of. I'm saying that there is enough out there to raise questions where we need to start asking specific things and digging deeper. How did it happen? Was it a shot fired from a long distance? Was it from the front? Was it from the back? Was it an explosion? Was there somebody in the front row? All of these people are bringing this up, and all these theories have been advanced about the logistics and the physics of how it could have happened. And that's all one aspect of it, because you're going to look at it. It's like 9/11. When you look at 9/11, you have the physics of it, you have the architecture of it, you have how it's impossible for those steel framed buildings to collapse on just one building to collapse after that hit from a 747 and flames and fires that were going out. Not only did you have one building that was architecture, just think about that. One building that had minimal architectural damage collapsed in its own footprint. And it's never happened before in history, but 3 buildings did it in one day. It's so very odd. But you have that one aspect of it. You have architects and engineers that are saying this is physically impossible. That could not have happened unless X was inserted. And those X in that idea was explosives. And it's the same thing with this. You have the physical aspect of it, how and why it could have happened. Then you have the motives of why it happened, right? Why would somebody want to put explosives in the building? Why would somebody want to take down 3 of those buildings in front of everybody? Why would somebody want to take out Charlie Kirk? We don't know. Why is it that somebody would want to take out Charlie Kirk? I have my theory, which I'm going to advance tonight. It's all speculative. It's all just taking in the information. But if I just say he died because he was a Christian martyr, then all of those other reasons, I start throwing them out because I don't want them to be true. Because if it's over politics, if it's over money, if it's over allegiance to a specific country, then I can't accept that because I have my mind focused on one thing. He died because he preached about Jesus. And I'm not willing to do that. I'm not willing to say he died only because of Christ. He died only because of countries. He died only because of politics. He died only because of jealousy. He died. I'm not going to do that, because if I do that, I won't think about other things. And you'll do the same thing. You won't think about other things either. So when I look at this, I told my wife, because immediately there was a lot of people that were saying, well, he was speaking out against Israel. He was saying that that Epstein was a Mossad agent. He was asking questions of Ben Shapiro about why or if we were getting the full understanding or the full story from the media. He was asking all of those questions. Now, when he was asking those questions, and it started making people uncomfortable. And we all heard about the meeting that he had where they were trying to convince him to change his position, to not have Tucker Carlson show up at his meetings and not show up at his TPUSA places, because Tucker Carlson has been asking questions and he's been pushing against the narrative as well. There's a comedian that I can't remember his name right now. It's right on the tip of my tongue. But there's a comedian that's also Jewish, but he's not a Zionist, and he's also asking plenty of questions out there. So those discussions, those questions were being asked by Charlie Kirk. All right. So I told my wife, I was like, we were talking about, I was like, theory-wise, when you consider theory-wise here, maybe there was something to this, but maybe it wasn't something that was specifically about about that country or that support. Maybe there were people that were in his group, those people that were in his group that were loyal to the donors, and the donors were loyal to specific countries. And the donors said, this is not going to happen. We don't want this to happen. We don't like him asking these questions. We don't like him advancing or pushing these theories. So when he's advancing and pushing these theories, they're like, hey, something's got to be done about this. Somebody has to do something. We have to change the trajectory of what he's talking about. Otherwise, he's going to continue to push this idea. He's going to continue to push this theory. And once he does that, we're going to lose people. We're going to lose their support. We're going to lose our donors. Maybe they were not lose their donors. If he continues to push these theories, we're going to lose the allegiance of this specific country that we are so aligned to. There is a video. And so I told her, I was like, look, and just to make this concise, because I do have to get going here. So make this very concise. His either donors I'm sorry, let me rewind. His donors, and this is just a theory, perhaps, his donors said, look, we're not going to have him pushing back against this country to which we hold allegiance. We're going to take care of this, and we're going to put somebody else in there. And that somebody else that we put in there is going to be loyal to us, and they're going to do what we say, and they're going to do as we ask. And when they do what we say and do what we ask, we'll have control of this TPUSA once again, and we will be able to make sure that what is said is exactly what we want done and exactly what we want said. And I'm trying to find the video right now because just a week before Charlie Kirk was shot. I'm going to pull this up here real quick because I want to make sure that I show you all this and it's not just me being silly or making stuff up. Sorry about the delay here, folks. I want to make sure that I do this for you. Let's see. The link, I thought I had put the link to this in my show notes, but evidently I did not put the link to it in my show notes, which is why I cannot find it. That's the footage. So a week before Charlie Kirk was shot, he had told his group that he told TPUSA that they were now going to launch an internal department of Doge. And that department of Doge was going to start, sorry, got a little bit of noise going on upstairs. Anyway, let me go ahead and say this because I'm getting a little bit ahead of myself, and for some reason I can't find the link. But you can actually look this up. Look this up. So a week before, Charlie Kirk said that he was going to begin his own department of Doge within TPUSA to find out not only where the money was going, but where the money was coming from. So they were conducting an internal audit of TPUSA. And this internal audit was going to find out where the money was going, where the money was coming from, and they were going to start cutting back fat, cutting back pork, trimming it down, making sure that they were more fiscally responsible and productive. And then a week later, he was tragically taken out. So the theory that I'm advancing is that his donors were uneasy about the questions he was asking regarding that specific country, and they said, we need to do something about this, because he's going to track the money down. We want to put somebody else in there that's going to do what we want them to do. And therefore we're going to then control what is being said. And that's exactly what they did, by the way. They found a young man. This young man, let me go ahead and share this with you. This young man, wrong one. I'm so glad that this is kind of like an informal show tonight because I need to get all this fixed. Here we go. This is who TPUSA body swap Charlie Kirk with. He's a rabid Christian Zionist. He's coming to a university near you to peddle Israel 365 Judeo-Christian nonsense. Amazing how they had him groomed and ready to go. And there he is right there on a private jet with a Rolex, all rich, coming to tell you about Israeli Zionism and Judeo-Christian nonsense. And that is who they replaced Charlie Kirk with. They took him out and they put somebody in there that wouldn't ask questions, somebody in there that would do exactly what they said, who was young enough and naive enough to think that he was going to be doing some good. All right, folks, that is it for me tonight. I'm going to try to do a couple of these things every now and then. John? Hey, John, I haven't heard from you in a long time. John, good to hear from you, brother. When you asked that question, Israel, question mark, you talking about the country? Because it is. That's who I'm talking about, is Israel. And let's see here. All right. So this is what I'm going to do, folks. I might jump on here and do a couple of these between now and October 11th, which is when I shall be doing the show. If you did not hear when the show first began, Saturday, October 11th, starting at 9 a.m., going to 11 a.m. for 2 hours every Saturday morning, I will be launching the Aaron Barker Show. No longer The Breakdown. It is the Aaron Barker Show. You can join us by going to Rumble, YouTube, Facebook, and Twitter. I'm also on Getter. Jump on there as well. And I'm also on Vocal, which used to be Frank's Speech. So jump on there also. Support the show, follow the show, and also check out on the bottom here. Every great night's rest. Every great day begins with a great night's rest. Great night's rest, and every great night's rest begins with a MyPillow. Go to mypillow.com. Use the promo code Barker for a ton of savings. I just did. Use for a ton of savings and a great night's rest with sheets and pillows, etc. All right, folks. Love you all. Thank you so much for joining me. I'll catch you on the flip side.